Hey you guys, welcome back to another tutorial. I know it's been a minute since I've posted, but I've been pretty busy recently, but since I have some free time now, I figured I would just, sit down and make another tutorial. After looking at the poll, I saw that the most votes was for Nikki, so that is who we are going to be drawing today. So, to start, we are going to be drawing a circle. Okay, there we go. And of course we do another swoosh. Whoosh, whoosh. Yeah, that's good. And then we just want to lightly erase it. So now that we've created the guidelines, we are going to make the expression. So usually whenever I draw Nikki, I draw her like kind of just like really happy and like excited and everything, because she's just always got that chaotic energy, but of course you can draw whatever expression you want to. And then we'll draw these little lines above here. Just draw those over any character. And then we draw a little nose. Oh, it's like the inside, like the little nostril there. Okay, perfect. Now we want to make it so these look like they're connected, so it looks more smooth or whatnot. There you go. And then just erase this. Now we'll draw a little smiley face. Oh yeah, she's smiling big. So now that we got the expression down, we can actually start drawing the face. Usually I kind of make her face like really round and like kind of squishy. Because that's the one way you can describe it. But like her head is like literally like a circle. So I kind of just try to make it like more round. Like in my style, like I don't actually draw her head as a circle. But yeah, I just sort of do little here. So like I start at the top of the head like this. And then I kind of go around like this. And then here, shoop. Shoop, shoop. After a couple tries, I finally get something I like. And occasionally I'll adjust it a little bit in case I want to move it up a little bit more. And then the reason I usually make this little line here is so that way I can just like draw the ear. So like I have a reference as to where I need to put that, or where I need to draw it. And then when I'm done, I don't need any more, so I just erase it. Like that. And of course, while we're at it, we can just erase these lines. Not all of them, but just the ones that are in my way. There. I usually like to at least leave the lines at the top of the head, so that way, I have an idea of like where to put the hair. Gotta make sure we don't forget the crucial details, which I forget 98% of the time when I draw Nikki. You want to make sure that you don't forget to draw these, her little scratches on her face. I always forget that. And also the bandage on her face, which is on there all the time. And I don't know how she got it. I feel like that's a question that seems to be unanswered because she has it on literally all the time. I know it's probably just a character design choice, but still, it bothers me from time to time. I'm like, why does she have that on her face, huh? And then draw the bandage like that. And occasionally I'll do like a little scruff like that. Or maybe I'll do like a little cute little blush just to make it look extra cute. I like to start like this little thing. I know sometimes she'll have like a little strand, like a little, you can't really see it in the, I was trying to find pictures of her that I liked, but there weren't that many, and this is probably the best one I could get. So, here, let me show you. I start with this, and then I do a little swirl. Sometimes I'll redo it because I don't always like the way it looks, but until I like it, like this one, then I'll leave it. And then I add a little strand, little woof. It's kind of like, it's actually kind of like a moon crescent, sort of, like kind of just like Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. That's the same shape as that one. And then I just draw the rest of her hair. And then I draw this little heart. This little poof, little poofy poof. And then I draw her hair on the other side. And then of course I draw hair on the top. And of course you can go ahead and erase any lines that you don't need. I usually don't draw like her pigtails until I've drawn like her neck and the torso. So if you're wondering why I haven't drawn her hair yet, that's why. So I kind of just start her neck like this. And usually whenever I draw the neck, I draw a little shadow underneath. And I just fill that in with black. Just color that in. I like to start with the straps of her overall, so that way I have a reference as to where to draw the rest of the clothes. I start with two little boop, woo, shoot, and that's how I usually do it. Like, I just like a little bit of, rather than just like a, you know, because I think it just like adds a little something. It just makes it look like more interesting rather than just like a boring old strap. There's just like a little, oh, there's a little something there. It's like kind of like a little M, but like the rest of it's kind of dragged down. So you can, kind of like that, and then so now we're gonna draw her straps like so. And then of course now we're gonna draw the sleeves, but I gotta make sure I kind of connect these lines real quick. Okay. And then usually the way I start it is I kind of just go like that. Although I'll probably make that bigger because that looks a little bit small. And the thing is, it's always important to like zoom out when you're doing your work, because sometimes you'll think it's a good size and then when you zoom out you're kind of just like, oh wait, no, that's too big or too small, or like the proportions aren't right. So I know it's really easy to just kind of say zoomed in all the time and always focusing on the little details, but if you look at the big picture, that's really what matters the most. So if I just make this a little bit bigger, see, kind of like that, that looks a little bit better. So instead of having it super small like that, because she would have like the tiniest arm ever, it's a lot bigger and it looks much better. So we'll go with that. Of course we draw her arm on the inside, and then we draw the inside like that. So it's like the inside of the t-shirt there. And then we just do the same thing on the other side. So now we're going to finish drawing the rest of her hair, which is her pigtails. As you can see, it's kind of just like like that. So this is like kind of like the shape of it pretty much. It's kind of funny. I remember I used to draw people with hands like this, but it's kind of just a bunch of like, you kind of just woo. It's kind of just a bunch of loops the way you draw it. Although you don't have to draw it like exactly this way. You can kind of draw it however you want. I like to do them one at a time, or sometimes I'll do them all at once, just depending. So see, I like to make her, I really like to give her a really big pigtail sometimes, and other times I don't. It just kind of just depends on how I feel. I really do like that little detail, so that's why I like to keep it in her hair, because I just think it's just so her and I love it. And, you know, if you're feeling real lazy, you could just straight up take this and copy it to the other side, like so. But if you don't like the way that looks, if you think it looks kind of wonky, then you can always just draw it yourself. Unfortunately, sometimes it might take longer to try to redraw it. And of course, it doesn't always look exactly like the other side, although that's to be expected, because no two sides really look the same when you think about it, because they don't. Now that we're done with the line art, we can finally start with the coloring. As you can see, I just filled in the base colors, you know, the basics, like her hair, her skin, her clothes. So I didn't really do any shadows or highlights yet. So I'm going to show you how I do that. I kind of like to start off with her skin, kind of just the way that it, you know, like at her nose right here and like her ears, you know, it's kind of like that, like different shade. So I kind of color it similar to the way that it's colored, you know, like in the show. I kind of, here, I create a new layer and I do clipping mask. And then I kind of just add it, like so. Sometimes I'll just do plain, or I'll kind of like fade it in, so I'll like start kind of soft a little bit and I'll kind of fade it in like that. You know, kind of just however I want to do it. Just depends. And then usually I like to add shading in other areas, so I like to go around her hair, kind of like that. And of course I'll erase it around, because you don't want this on the hair, because it just looks weird. And I like to do a bit extra underneath the neck, even though we kind of already added like a shaded bit. But I always like to do that. And of course I always like to do it underneath the sleeves as well. Of course, we'll add some to her ear as well. Doing the ear is a little bit more tricky. It's just kind of hard to find like a middle ground, like where you're satisfied, you know. Now that we did the skin, we can do the eyes. So basically what I like to do is I like to select the eye color, go to here, and then I like to go slightly darker. I don't like to go all the way here, otherwise it'll look too yellow. So I like to just go a little bit farther down, so it's just, you know, slightly darker, slightly more muted. Kind of like that. And then just do a simple shading over the eyes, kind of like that. Just very subtle, like it's not too obvious from afar, but just to give it a little bit of shading. And since I did add a little bit of blush to her cheeks, I will go back with this color, but I'll try to make it a little bit more pink. Like so. Just make it very subtle, and then kind of lightly go over it like that, and then kind of smudge it, like so. We can't forget a little bruised area that also has a little bit of smidge to it. And since the line art looks kind of harsh right now, I want to make it a softer color. So I'm going to go into here and look through my color palettes. We could try on here. Could select this color, that one. And then we go here, turn that to alpha lock. Make sure it's on the right brush. And do you see how that looks overall softer there? It's not as harsh as the black. So this is what it was like before, and this is after. In my last video, I did make it lineless. I will be doing that again just to show you again what it looks like when you do regular line art compared to lineless line art. So I'll go to a new layer, go to clipping mask, and then we just start the process. So basically I would just select, you know, the color, and I would just go, oh, sorry, my bad. I'll just go over it. Oh, not erase. Go over it like this. And so like that. And I'm making this on a separate layer, so, you know, like in case, you know, I don't like it, or in case you don't like it, you can always just go back to it, and you can just, you know, hide the layer and you don't have to see it. Alright, so as you can see, I finished coloring in the line art. So it looks very nice, very smooth, clean. This is what it looks like without it, and this looks like with it. And I just realized I left that on the wrong layer. I mean, sometimes I do get confused and I end up drawing on the wrong layer or coloring in on the wrong layer. You want to make sure that you keep an eye on that, because I know it is very easy to slip up and be like, oh shoot, I put that on the wrong layer. I know in the last video I did do like a bit of highlights in the eyes, and I think the way I did it is kind of just like the little whoosh, kind of similar to that. Or you could do like maybe little highlights of the eyes, kind of like kind of like that. Oh, she looks so cute. Kind of just however you want to do it. You know, you can always play around with it. You could do little hard eyes. Oh, that actually looks so cute. Oh, that's really cute. I really like that. You could also do little one of these. Oh my gosh, why can't I? Sorry, kind of like one of those. I'll probably just go back to this though, just to keep up with, you know, the theme and everything, because I'm just like kind of trying to keep my style consistent. I think this looks really cute. Or I could also do like these little, just like that. That could also work. It also works really well too. Now, of course, you don't have to do this. You could just simply leave it like this. But I do like to just do like a little something in case you don't want it to just be a plain white background. You can always add shapes if you want to, kind of like I did with the last one. Although before I add any kind of background, I like to make sure that my character is in the center. So what I do is I make sure that all the layers are combined into one group. So yeah, I know it looks weird, but just bear with me for a second. Let me just put them all into one group. Like so. And then you can add the clipping mask back on. Like that. See? Fixed it. And now make sure you're under the new group. And so that way you have the whole character selected with all your layers, so that way you don't have to move them all separately and have to line them up evenly, so you don't have to worry about that, because let's be real, that'd be pretty annoying. I like to use the drawing assistant and make sure that is symmetry, so that way I have a reference as to if it's in the center or not. So I kind of just move it just so slightly, and I just zoom in just to make sure it's all the way there. Now, nobody's really going to be paying attention to this, but I always like to make sure it's in the center as much as possible. There we go, like that. Sometimes, like, when you put on the drawing assistant, you know, like if you put that on, then, you know, it'll be like, sometimes they put the drawing assistant on automatically, and then you have, like, the whole, you know, symmetry thing going on. So just make sure to watch out for that. So I remember selecting, no, not that. Here we go. So you'll select that little S-shaped thing. I'm not entirely sure what it is. And then you can press Eclipse to make some sort of like oval or circle. And then you can just fill that in. And then you can just sort of play with that and kind of just mess around with it, you know, whatever you want to do. Typically don't use the circle as much or the oval, but it does make it kind of interesting. Oh, I actually kind of like that. It's kind of cool. Alright, so as you can see, I finally settled on a shape and a color. So now I'm just going to add a couple extra details like I did in the last one, where basically I put on the layer on top of it, but still underneath, you know, the sketch and like the coloring and everything. I kind of did a little bit of an outline. Here we could do clipping mask again. And I kind of just doing around Nikki. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect, you know. I think there's like a certain thing you can do in Procreate to like have an overall outline, but I genuinely don't really like the way that it looks most of the time. So I kind of just do my own. So kind of like that. And then we can add a couple other stars. can draw a star I'm satisfied with. And like I did last time, I think I wrote the name of the character, so we can just kind of put that right here. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye!